What's going on, New Fighting Order? This is your host, Alexlexus, coming at you with another edition of Lunchtime TV for May 13th, 2013. And I just wanted to make a video in response to reviewtech USA brought up some good points on a video that they put out. And this is just an education video as well for some of you who know the history behind Sony, Microsoft, Sega, things of that nature. But I just wanted to kind of spark a debate. Here we go. Yes, I did it. And we will definitely be talking about this on the podcast that's due for this week, that's going to be making up for last week's episode because I had technical difficulties and Nelson was at work. So I was trying to do the best I could with my limitations with my capture card. But anyway, um, apparently there's some comments going around from one of the major legends from Atari who pretty much guaranteed that the next Xbox system will indeed trump Sony's PS4. And I don't say yes or no to that because there's not enough conclusive evidence of what is going to do what. Next week is the 22nd. On the 22nd, Microsoft will be doing their little press conference, and only then we're going to start really being able to see or try to gauge what's what. Now, again, like I keep saying, it's too early in the game for anyone to make certain assessments because Microsoft hasn't shown anything yet. I mean, the specs have been put out for both systems, but to see practical application, nothing to really measure the PS3 or PS4 conference versus something that just hasn't come out in terms of Microsoft's conference. So, saying that, all to say this, I mean, the the major guy from Atari was saying the dev kits for Sony system have always sucked. And you know what? Some people will say this is like a backup dancer or fanboy thing. No, that is true because developers have confirmed that Sony's dev kits, or just like for instance the cell processor, I've been hearing from numerous sources that processor was freaking hard to develop for. It took a lot of time. Okay, now you can go back and say, like, look what happened between the Xbox 360 version of Bayonetta and the PS3 version of Bayonetta. When Sony and Kutaragi-san, who was running things before Castle Ride, it's like, okay, it seemed as if you made a system that had all this power, but you made it so that the developers had to pool all their resources into developing for your system, and then they're so spent financially and labor wise that when they try to port things to other systems, the job couldn't get done. Good example: Street Fighter Cross Tekken. The PS3 version was developed first when Harada and Ono-san were showing off that first fight with Kazuya, Nina, Ryu versus Chun-Li. It was on the PS3, and when you really look at it, when the system is so difficult to develop for or requires more time to develop for, it's only natural for companies who are third party to go and develop for that system first, get it out of the way, and then when you go to like a system that's more PC friendly, like the x86 and whatnot, you can go and just simply port it over. Now, in doing that, if you're running out of time, things will get cut. Like, for instance, local co-op to go online on the 360 version of Street Fighter Cross Tekken. You know, that's kind of practice. It's like, damn, really? That seems kind of grimy, if you ask me. Purposely making it so that your system is gonna eat up all the R&D time, so that they don't have any manpower or any real time left to properly port something over to the competitor's console. The third party developers should have seen this, and what they should have done was go the other way develop for the system that's easier to develop for, and then burn all your time for the Sony advanced or exotic architecture. It was like that since the PS2, PS3. But now the good thing that Sony has done, and yes, New Fighting Order fans, I do give Sony props for a couple of things. They're going a different route. Their new architecture will make it more easy to develop for. The language. I mean, going into binaries for the PS2, zeros and ones, zeros and ones. I mean, if a third party developer really wants to make something for a system and get all the bells and whistles out of the hardware, it can be done. However, Sony was blessed in the fact that the PS2, with the DVD making it the lead system, developers like, hey, this is making money. We'll do whatever we can to make sure that we get a game out on that platform, even though it was hard to develop for. And this is why Sony and the PS2 had a lot of exclusives, because by the time they were done developing for that, you wouldn't see a Dreamcast port. You know what I mean? And then early on, you wouldn't see a Xbox One port, which should have been the other way around, because the Xbox original was easier to develop for. That's why you would see more ports between PC and Xbox games than PC to PS2. A lot of you may not agree with this, but it's the truth. You can go do your own research on that, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But going back into this, I mean, with that practice that Sony was doing, or the former executive officer, it's like, okay, to me, when the PS2 and the Dreamcast when the Dreamcast was on the way out, a lot of people don't know that Microsoft was helping Sega since the Saturn. I mean, they were like kind of hands off in a way, and just that initial OS for the Saturn. Then you're going into the Windows CE, which was easy to develop for, very easy to develop for. But developers didn't see that. They only saw that Sony was in the lead, and they went ahead and bam, we got a DVD format. People were buying DVD movies on a console. The Dreamcast sales were slowing down, and once the Dreamcast failed, I guess maybe they should have looked back and said, "Damn, we could have cranked out more content and used all the system resources." Which also the Dreamcast was built with the intent to have online play, with the Sega Net and everything. If they went that route, I mean, the Dreamcast probably would have had a longer shelf life than it did. But Reviewtech USA really said some things that I wanted other people to see. But if he said it, then it's not like me being a fanboy. I'm just telling the truth. So now it's a different scope. And what he said in his video, Sony for the first time is threatened. They're not like guaranteed to make it, or I wouldn't say make it. They're not guaranteed to be in the lead for this new console race. The 720 is looking more and more promising every day, especially with the SoC on the chip, where the backwards compatibility is going to be inside the 720. Then the whole thing where they're retracting the whole always online. Sony really needs to have their feet or their heels dug into the ground for this fight, because now it's going to be on even playing field. And not only that, this doesn't guarantee that Microsoft is going to be in the lead either. Now it's going to be like a fourth quarter suspense type thing, because now it's going to be easier to develop on the PS3, and it's going to continue to remain easy to develop for the Xbox 720, aka the Durango. Now it comes into who is going to get those exclusives, who's going to put out that content. Sales are really going to be important this time around. But I just want to know what you guys think about that, in terms of what the scope has changed. The scope has changed now. Casualties like Street Fighter Cross Tekken, you won't see that anymore. You'll be able to develop on the PS3 or PS4. I'm still getting used to the whole change. PS4 in the 720, now the development stuff and the porting over, it looks like it's going to be a lot more swift, a lot easier, and it can change the whole dynamic, that we're going to be seeing coming up. So let me know what you think. I really, want DeMizzo's response, Nelson's response, Danae from Toughener Toys. I mean, this is shaping up to be like, how can I say? It's almost like exciting again to see what's coming down the pipeline for the gaming world. But I do want to point out there are some backup dancers, like John Carmack from id Software. He's just like, I'm very pleased with the PS4's architecture and the specs and whatnot. But then again, with the PS3, I should have had the video to that he was saying that, oh yeah, the PS3 has more peak power and all that. But then when you come to find how the architecture was set up, the PS3 choked itself by how they designed it. Yes, it does have more raw power than the 360 has as far as processor goes, but as far as GPU usage, that went straight to the 360, and you can tell with games like Bayonetta, games like Vanquish, and others. But it's not to say one was better than the other; they just had different strengths. So for John Carmack to say, "Hey, it had, you know, peak power or whatever," that's one thing, but I don't know. I'm now looking at this new console war as even playing ground. So it's gonna be interesting, and hopefully Capcom won't make that mistake again and pooling all their resources into for like they did with Cross Tekken, and thus cutting out features and characters for the 360 side of things or the Microsoft community. But let me know what you guys think. It was an interesting video that I saw. I'm gonna actually put that as a video response to reviewtech USA so that you guys can check that out. So to my New Mugen Order guys, my TSG Fighting Game League guys, shout out to Nelson, New Fighting Order. This has been Lunchtime TV. Make sure you subscribe. Check out our Twitch TV channel. Check us out on Facebook. We're always on Twitter. And if you want to leave a video response, please leave that below. Shout out to Alpha Omega Sin, Club Syndicate, and the rest of my people. I'll see you next time on Lunchtime TV. Peace.